A few moments later.
You good? Hello friends, family, everyone in between. My name is Kayla Networks and this is my very random YouTube channel. As always, my dogs will be in the background making noise, especially Piper right now because she literally started eating the moment I pressed record. And I have been waiting for her to stop, but she is smacking away on her food and she likes to throw it up in the air and catch it. So today I'm going to be talking with you guys about character development. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about forming your main character and getting to know them better and just forming them, developing them, doing all the stuff that is going to help you with writing your book, especially if it's in first person, because you really gotta know that heifer if you're gonna write about them. I just came up with a bunch of questions that you can ask yourself and answer, and these questions will help you in developing your character and maybe even forming other characters that you're like, okay, this is the kind of person that they are. So in order to build conflict, I need to implement this kind of person in the character to just build drama. Or, you know, this is the kind of person they would be attracted to if it's a romance novel. First question that you need to ask yourself is very simple and seems very obvious, but you have to ask it anyway. Who are they? Who is your character? Are they male, female? Are they part of the political system? Are they living in a tunnel? Are they, you know, just all these questions about who they are. And I know that's a very broad question, but that's just the first one to start with, to just ask yourself, who are they? I don't know where you are in the development of your main character, but just asking that question can help you maybe brainstorm some ideas of the kind of person that you want them to be. So for instance, my main character on my book is a 17-year-old girl, because, you know, YA novel. 17-year-old girl who is living in this very unfortunate circumstance, and that is just basic level who she is. I'm not even getting into all the other stuff, which is part of the remaining questions I have, which leads me to question number 2. What are they? Because not every main character is human, and not every character in your book in general is human. You can't just assume that they're going to be human, or even that they don't have special abilities. Like, they can be human, but they may also be witches or warlocks or, I don't know, a shapeshifter. And that also plays a part into writing your book, because the way that I would write a romance novel, if my main character was a dragon versus a fairy, two totally different stories, two totally different worlds that I'm going to build them into. Now, these next couple of questions are going to really help you get to the deep meat-rooted part of your character and understanding who they are and really starting to form a person or a personality. My third question is, what do they want? What does your person desire out of life, out of anything going on in your world? What is it that they desire? Because that will be part of the motivation for what they go after, what they choose to do with their lives, and the direction that your book takes. If they desire to be wealthy, they're not going to take a job where they make barely any money, especially if they're kind of like obnoxious and they really just want all the fame and glory and all that stuff. You really gotta make their desires fit the actions that they're gonna end up taking in your book. Which also leads me to my next question is, what is it that they actually need? Because a lot of the times, even humans here out in the real world, the things that we desire and the things that we actually need do not align with one another, and they actually end up making more conflict in our lives. If my main character aspires to be a queen, but what they actually need is to work on themselves and be humble, then that's going to form conflict in your story, and that's going to be literally the journey of their life, is just trying to balance out what they desire and what they actually need. And I think that's like a lot of children's stories too. Characters not really understanding what they actually need in life and chasing after stuff that they have no business chasing after. So the next set of questions also go along with that, which are, what are their passions and their fears? Your character may be passionate about going on an adventure, but if their fear is leaving home, that is going to be part of their character. That is going to be part of what maybe holds them back throughout their journeys, is that they may want to go out and explore these worlds, but every so often they're like, wow, I really don't want to leave home, or I can't imagine just expanding myself outside of what I'm comfortable with. And that is a really big motivation for what they may or may not choose to do in your book. And again, forming conflict, because a book without conflict sounds hella boring. So it just forms more conflict and also just develops your character a whole lot better. So I've lost track of what number I'm on. I don't even think I'm going to number these off, but just questions to ask yourself. The next one being, what is their relationship to the other characters in your book? Are they on good terms with their parents? Do they have a brother who's like evil? Do they have a cousin who is like the governor of the city? I don't know. What is the relationship to the other characters? And that's not even talking about family, even though family can be a very important part of your story. Just the relationship to not only single characters, but to groups of people. Maybe they are a hunter and the relationship to werewolves is negative. That's going to form your person and help you in writing your story. And it's something to be mindful of later on. If they ever come in contact with the werewolf, you know that relationship is not going to be very sweet. That entire conversation and connection between them is not going to be normal outside of other groups that they don't have these negative relationships with. For example, my main character has a brother that she really loves and adores, but feels a little detached from. And her relationship with him is what guides her into getting into a lot of trouble, because she's constantly trying to validate, you know, her presence in his life, because that is practically her only real family. And so without him, she kind of feels like she doesn't have value, she doesn't have a reason. And so it's just maintaining that relationship with her brother, despite him always trying to detach himself away from her, really leads her into a lot of these issues and drives my story. The next few things to consider are your character's strengths, weaknesses, and their limitations. Your character may be super smart, but if they're super weak, that's going to play part in maybe things that work for them, don't work for them, things that they know that they go after, and things that they tend to just pull back from. If your character's super smart, they may feel self-conscious about how weak they are and end up turning to people who have like those muscles and stuff. But also you have to consider their limitations, not only in terms of how they are physically, but maybe mental limitations or even political, social, economic limitations that they have. They may be super intelligent and they may have all this potential, but if they live in a city where they are super poor and they don't have a lot of access to resources, then that's going to play a part in who they are in their development. They may end up resenting the fact that they are poor, or they may end up resenting the city that they live in because it doesn't uplift people like them, even though they know that they're capable of being more than what other people tell them they are. Hope that makes sense. As far as the strengths go, this can be physical, actual strength, or it can be just something that pops up due to the circumstances that they're in. They may not know that they are this very compassionate, loving person and they're able to love very easily until they're put in the position where it's like, they're really good at this. They excel in just being very considerate, they're very thoughtful, and they open themselves up to people, which may also be a weakness too. Your strengths can also be your weaknesses. Yes, they can. When it comes to developing your character, you don't want to just think about how they currently are. You want to think about how they were. You want to think about their past, their upbringing, probably something that happened in their past that's influencing the way that they are now. For instance, the death of a parent. I think of Harry Potter and the death of his parents. That drove a lot of the situations in his life. People knew about it, people talked about it. He had a scar on his head just to remind him that this happened, that his parents died, and he was always chasing after them and kind of felt insecure that he didn't have a relationship with his parents in the way that his cousin did and the way that his friends did. He craved that family bond, which I mean he got from his friends. That's besides the point. The point is that their past does make a difference in who they currently are and who they're going to be in the future. So think about different situations that probably led your character to be the person that they are now, because those should and will come up in other situations throughout your book. And it just makes, for the reading experience, it makes your character more believable and more relatable, because just focusing on the person that they are now, I can't relate to that. But if I know that 5 years ago your main character's cousin died of a really bad illness, well, that may play a part into who they are now, and it makes them sympathetic, and like I said, it makes them relatable and real.
A few moments later.
So I'm just gonna talk over him, get water, because he's been doing this for a good minute or so. He act like he hasn't had access to water this whole time. You good? Thank you, sir. Okay, so another thing to consider are your character's goals. This fits into other aspects of the questions that I asked previously, but just, I feel like this needs its own section. If you're writing these questions out and trying to answer them yourselves, this is something that you need to really set aside and think about. What are your character's goals? What is it that they want to accomplish? How do they want to accomplish it? What time do they want to accomplish? Oh my gosh, that is so accomplish. I want to accomplish, saying the word accomplish. So yes, accomplish their goals, time, their limitations, like I stated earlier, the things that are going to be in their way, the motivations, you know, your SMART goals. If any of you have had to write those down and been very irritated like I have, what are their SMART goals? Think of those. Those will help you, like I said, in character development. It will lead your story, because if I have a character who their goal is to bake a cake and they want to bake the most beautiful, gorgeous, great tasting cake in 2 hours, that's going to be very, very difficult for them. But again, it builds drama, it builds conflict, it makes it fun to read, because we can feel their panic. We want to see them panic. We don't want to give them 12 days to bake a cake, because that's boring. They're gonna get it done. I mean, not me, I won't get it done, but they should get it done. And the last question to consider are potential outcomes for the future, and just potential outcomes for their actions in general. Your book is more than your main character. Even though the main character is like the nucleus of your story, there are going to be blowbacks. There are going to be good and positive outcomes to come from the kind of person that they are, the things that they desire, the things that they want and need, their strengths, weaknesses. All these questions influence other things going on in the book. It is not just happening to them in their little hub that they live in. It's going to have an effect on the people around them, the situations around them, and the potential journeys that they're able to go on. And that does deal a lot with plotting and thinking about the story in general. But if you know your character and you know the potential outcomes to come from this, then that's going to help you in thinking about, okay, this is something that I definitely want to happen. These aren't that important, so I don't want that really to play that big of a part into my story. And even when you're developing your other characters and you start thinking of the potential outcomes, if these two things contradict each other, that's drama. We love to see it. So of course, this isn't a question, but it is a recommendation that I have for people when developing their main character, or you know, their antagonists, any side characters. Do your research, because it helps, especially if you're writing from a place that you don't personally know about or personally feel like you have the knowledge to develop, because you haven't been there, or you don't know people like this to use as examples. Do research, see how other people in their books have written characters that are teen witches. Sabrina, love that show. Both the old and the new, but anyway. So yeah, see how other people have done it. See how people who kind of fit into your character have led their lives, the things that they've desired and they've wanted as the person that they are. And it makes it more believable. It makes it practical. It makes it, not to say that your story has to be exactly like it would be in the real world. That's another one. Real world. Try to say that 5 times fast. That's really hard. You want your character to feel real. You want your character to feel, you want your readers to feel connected to your character in whatever relationship you even want your character to have with the reader and vice versa. So yeah, I hope that was informative enough for you guys. There's so much that I can say about character development, but those were just the basic questions that I could think of that ask or have presented to you guys. Like I said, my uncle gave me a packet with thousands and thousands and thousands of questions, so I can go over some of those piece by piece in other videos, but for the sake of time and for the sake of my own patience, I'm not gonna do that in one video. So yes, those were my basic level. You know what? Not even just basic level. Those were like foundation level. These were my foundation level questions that you can ask, and they do get deeper and they do get more detailed if you want them to. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, suggestions, your own tips, if you want me to do another video like this where I cover character development, let me know and I'll do it sooner rather than later, because right now I plan to do it much later. But yeah, just let me know. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Instagram. We will see you all next time. Bye.